Hello and welcome to this week's Energy Shot podcast. We are Matt Taylor. My name is Nicole Ercolani, and we have decided to produce this podcast series in order to give you weekly astrological update from Matt with the Kabbalistic astrology, which will also include wisdom, healing, practical coaching tools, and I will give some insights from my side. And this is all in order for you to get into the higher realms of energies, to understand what's going on, and to utilize this for your soul purpose path. Hi, Matt. How are you this
Hi, I'm fine.
Hello.
Yes, I feel a bit funny in my head, but well.
Me too, by the way. I woke up and I was like so tired, and I had this pain in my body. And then I had a client this morning. And my client is saying,
feeling, isn't it?
Something's going on. Let's look into the planet.
I just go and breathe later on and sit in the sun and have a coffee. That'll sort me out.
Oh, yeah. I did cat-cow. I feel much better now.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a yoga move, not a drug, right?
No, that's a yoga move.
Cool.
I don't eat cats and cows.
It sounds like a drug.
No, it's not. No, it's a yoga. It's a yoga set. It's like to balance out your elements in the body, to align the chakras again, to work with the glandular system in order the secretion works right again. So I did. Like whenever whenever I have back pain or I don't feel well or I feel like strange in my head, I do 3 minutes of cat-cow, breathe heavily, and then 3 minutes of breath of fire. And then,
and then you
have energy again.
You're a hot mama.
You're clear. You're hot mama.
Yes.
Totally. Okay.
That's cool. Yes. All right. So what's the big news this week? The big news this week is that, well, we are already with the sun in Cancer, because that coincides with the longest day of the year, with the summer solstice, which we had last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday-ish, all of that little period at the beginning of last week. And so that's already there. But the moon is also going to Cancer this week, which is very different to more or less last year. You know, last year there was always like the sun was in, and then 2 weeks later the moon was moving in. And, you know, it was kind of and so you had this drag of the month. It was always like a bit of 2 weeks difference. It always felt different. Yeah. But now, you know, every year or every cycle is really different. But now the sun and moon are moving more into the same planet within 5 or 6 days rather than 2 weeks, you know. So not many people know that can be a difference. And so it makes like a drag feeling. But now we are a little bit closer, you know, that the sun and moon are moving into the same planet, the same sign at the same time. So it'll feel more of the sign that we're going through. So the lunar cycle of Cancer will begin next Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What is Cancer? Cancer is feelings, emotions, sensitivities, things of the heart. Right, things of how we emotionally deal with the world. It's the fourth sign of the year. It's a water sign, and in Kabbalistic astrology, we also have an internal element. So this particular part of the year is always interesting because Gemini is an air sign, and its internal element is air. Cancer is a water sign with the internal element of water. So they're both water of water, and Leo is a fire sign with the internal element of fire. So these 3 months are very interesting. What is air, fire, and water? And Kabbalists explain that, of course, they're the 3 elements, but also what they're explaining is it connects into the tree of life reality. So the central column is air, which is restriction. It means I've got to pull myself into this out of too much water and out of too much fire. So, or too much left column and too much right column. Yeah. So the energy comes into this universe down 3 columns, and we are responsible for making a central column. So if you put the element of fire and water together, you get steam, which represents air, right? So even in the internal display of what we see the 3 column system. So in neo-spirituality, fire is the masculine, and water or right column is the feminine, right? But obviously in the original astrology, and the original Kabbalistic sort of understanding of how this cosmos works, when they discovered that we have one creator, that the energy flows down through this 3 column system called the tree of life, right? The fire is the left column, which is like my drive, my ambition, my discipline, my get up and go, my chi, right? And if we excel on that, too much, obviously we get angry, impatient, all of those, right? The water energies, the love, the kindness, the compassion, the mercy, and that long list of things. And obviously, if we push on that too much, we drain, we victimize ourselves, we've given everything away, right? So here, what the three column system is really about is bringing the two and combining the two energies together so that we have drive, ambition, messages, getting up and doing things combined with our patience and our kindness and this is what creates the system of balance in the reality, right? So balance, inverted commas, right? So we are modulating, I guess, more the energies ourselves, right? That is our job here, is to do the restriction where we're modulating that energy. So here, as we go through Gemini, Cancer, and Leo, we are really experiencing that opportunity. In this month, the month of Cancer being the water sign with water of the internal element, we are moving much more into the right column, right? The feminine column, right? So this is the column of all of the emotions, all of the feels, which we know we need to bring to this world, but we know if we go too much into them, we're a victim, right? And we're with the complaining and the poor me's and I can't do anything and all of that, right? So each one needs to be modulated and balanced, okay? That is the original understanding of these systems of energy. Of course, it's much deeper and we're not going to go there, but just to give you a taste, yes? So the moon rules Cancer, and of course it's the watery, emotional, sensitive sign. It moves the tides, it moves our waters, and we are, a lot with the water. So we get this feeling that we are wanting to move with things more intuitively, leading with our feeling, leading with what we sense. Cancerians by nature are excellent at seeing the long vision. They're very intuitive, they're very long range vision, they can see down the path, they kind of feel how things are going to turn out and give you good intuitive long-term advice. What are they not good at? They're not good at seeing the reality right in front of them. They have because they're so emotional, the way that they see what's happening today or in this current movie right here, it's twisted. It's not accurate, right? They're not seeing what reality actually is. They're seeing something much more blown up, right? Much more elevated because they're so emotional that everything gets exaggerated, right? If you think about the crab, its eyes are on the top of its head and it's all a bit weird, right? And the other water sign, Scorpio, is blind, and the other water sign, Pisces, the fish with eyes like this. So the water signs don't see reality very well, right? They're very much with the illusion. Now, the Kabbalists have explained that the illusion is the 1% reality. So as we've explained many times, the 1%, an atom is 1% physical, right? Yeah. So 5,000 years ago, they were identifying that anything that we can see is only 1% of what's going on. So this 1% reality is illusionary. I can't put my bets on it, right? Because it's moving all the time. Even on the way I'm interpreting it, the way I'm seeing it, the way I choose to filter it through to having something today, gone tomorrow, right? We can't count on it because it's physical. And the reason we can't count on it is because we say it's good and bad, right? It's good for me, it's bad for me, it's this for me, and we're judging all the time. So this is the month where we want to come out of that illusionary reality of the 1% and much more into the tree of life reality, which is the eternal energetic reality, right? So we're trying to look for the light in things more. This is not what Cancerians do. They look for the darkness, right? They look for the lack. They look for what's going to go wrong, the drama, right? And this is where, so they have a good eye and a bad eye. This is how the Kabbalists explain it, right? So they have a good eye, which can draw out all the light, which is obviously, very moony, and a bad eye, which can draw out all the darkness, which is obviously very moony, right? So it's all related, and I could go on about how, all signs are related on for days, but just to try and give you a sense that what we are experiencing or thinking we're experiencing in this month is not necessarily the case, yeah? So if we go back to the summer solstice, which we were talking about last week, it's really about, when we come into summer, about what do we see, right? And we are able to sort of say, in these last months, to really see what was manifested much more clearer, right? Mm. And we need to look for the light in things. And if things aren't going so well, we take control and we work on changing them. Or we fall into this other reality of what I'm seeing is all monsters and darkness, and I've got a life of disaster. So this is the summer months, very much like this is the trick of the summer months and the summer solstice, is about what is the true reality, what is real, what is it that is going on here, and then to really take control. This is what Cancerians are by nature insecure, and they look for, because they're moving like tides inside, so they look for the security in the 1% world. This is the month where we go and buy that bag, or go and buy that makeup, or go and buy that thing to give us extra security, right? To make us feel secure about ourselves, right? They get little claws on and they attach to the 1%. They attach to the rock, right? Because it's the 1%. And this is where I can only get my security from, because everything else is moving. So what we don't want to, so I'm not saying don't buy things and go and have a good time, but look for where it's coming from. Where is this placed, right? What is the root of this, right? So often in this month, we'll get rooted in our lacks and insecurities and what's missing and what's not there and all of that. And we go and try and fix it with the 1% reality. Yes. So, which is fine, right? But let's also try and fix it with what's really insecure about me, what's really lacking about me. Let's do the spiritual work first and then see if we need the handbag after that.
Totally.
Yeah. So this is what the month is. It's a tremendous month of very powerful healing. All of the big sort of like Zohar portions, so we have 52 portions that explain the every energetic week to us. All of these portions, this is number 18 of 23. It's not really a book, it's just a long grid, a long program that we scan. So each week has a program that tells us what's going on, and like a week weather forecast, it's an energy forecast. And a lot of the big healing parts are in the month of Cancer. It's no doubt why it's called the month of Cancer, right? Even in Aramaic, it's called something similar. It's where all of our diseases can set in, even though they may not be manifested until another month. So that is because we're looking at the darkness so much, or potentially looking at the untrue reality so much, that it creates a big negativity. So a lot of the virus, for example, in the 2019, 6 months before, we had eclipses in Cancer. So just to draw that point, right? It started in that moment, even though it didn't manifest for another 3 or 4 months. This is what I'm explaining, that a lot of the things. Now, what's the first thing that we see this week in the news is the monkeypox has risen to a pandemic stage. There's been a lot of things, right? And I'll come to why that is. So that is one of the big things that, Cancer can do. Right? It raises out things that might be there, and we get or it starts to trigger a lot of health things, because it's not actually that, it's the health part is really just an effect of all of the negativity we have with the emotions and the feelings, right? Because that's where health issue starts. So this is this month. To try and look for the light. Yes, yes, that's
there
right.
Is this funny TikTok where in TikTok they have sounds where you can use the sound and then you make a video with the sound. And there's one sound which I find really funny, where there is this woman saying, "Am I the drama? I'm not the drama." And that is so much Cancer season for me.
Yes,
it's like, for me, like sometimes when I think back of the earlier days when I used to work in corporate and used to not only have this spiritual life, I remember that I find it very difficult to understand these cycles, and to really understand what is it that I can learn from that. And for me, a very good indication to understand whether you're more on the negative side of things or more on the dark side of things is as soon as you speak about the others being the problem. that's like a very good indication that you are in a victim state, and that this victim state creates the look at the darkness. And this is something that you can, when you hear yourself talking about a situation and you're like, because of them I have this, or my boss is an asshole because of that. Maybe he is, but it's for you. So what helped me the most is to understand that as soon as I speak bad of others and I focus on the others than on me, then I'm in the drama. So this is maybe for some of our listeners, this helps you maybe to understand when you're like not in this high vibrational energy. And then you can like go back into, okay, wait a second. Like the best thing you can do, like even if you don't understand what's going on, don't speak bad about others.
That's great, because that the second, like we get a lot of like issues around health in the Zohar, and we also get a lot about how we then interpret the world as a, you know, negativity or drama,
Yeah.
and we speak to that, and that speaking is what creates the airborne diseases, or the chaos, or the death, or the end, or the negativity. So yeah, it's very, you know, what you said, it's all wrapped up in the one, isn't it?
Totally. And I think that this is like, even if you don't understand what to do, and if you cannot heal the drama at the moment, and if you don't understand what it wants to tell you, like, just shut up. Like, it's really, don't speak bad about others. This, because people understand karma quite well, even though if they have nothing to do with karma, and if they don't believe in Buddhism, and if they like, but they're like, oh yeah, what goes around comes around. People get that thing. They really, to a certain amount, to a certain extent, they understand it.
Yes, they like that one.
They like it. They're like, yeah, what goes around comes around. Like, oh,
they like that
yes,
one,
it
don't they?
does.
Because yeah, it resonates in some level, I guess.
And so
maybe.
when you understand that, or people also often understand, yeah, life is a mirror. That's something they can understand as well, even if they have no clue about spiritual concepts and about anything of that. They understand what goes around comes around, or life is a mirror. Those two things, they heard that before. They're like, yeah, what goes around comes around. That's when the revenge is going on. So what goes around really comes around. So that means if you speak bad, everything you speak out, you can think it. You're probably not yet there to control your thoughts, but if you speak bad, if you open your mouth and let the words out, that really creates a very ugly vibration around you.
Yeah, so it doesn't even have to be about people. It can be about your coffee.
That
oh my God,
attracts ugliness as well.
It does. And even about your coffee, this coffee is horrible and whatever, and we can go about that. We have to really pull back on those things, because, you know, it's creating a death in the system. And by death, I mean like chaos, no?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is very good.
Totally.
This is it. And this is very difficult. It's not easy. I've probably done it 10 times already today, but you know, well, you need to be mindful and working on it and practicing, you know, to really restrict on, you know, this kind of lack that we can see, or this chaos that we can easily see in this month, right? We are very moony, so we go into the darkness and the light, and we want to keep on the light. Yes. So the other big thing is Uranus is in Taurus, and the North Node is in Taurus. We've spoken about this a lot, you know, over the last 6 months. But what's happening is the North Node goes around the chart the other way. The North Node South chart go around the chart the other way. So all the planets and asteroids are moving this way, and it's the crazy one going the other way. So what's happening is the North Node goes into Taurus at the end of Taurus, and obviously Uranus goes in the beginning, and they come together at some point and cross over, right? It's very interesting. So Uranus is moving up to North Node, and it's moving into Uranus. And North Node is the karmic destiny changer. And the South Node, which is in Scorpio, is the karmic destiny, like uprooter. Yes, Uranus is the shock, it's the chaos. It's all of a sudden. It's revolt. It's uprising. It's things that you didn't see coming. It's turning things on its head. It's the quaker, the mover, the shaker in the whole system. It's also consciousness, which is really interesting. So here we are in for a ride about unexpected things. Taurus by nature is everything physical in this reality. It's the earth, it's the body, it's money, it's all of the physical, it's the nature, it's all the physical things, right? So when these two come together, we get interesting things. And as they started to move together, it was really close to the summer solstice. They're coming like closer, but really we don't count it until there's a certain amount of closeness, which started to happen around last week. So what have we started to see? We've seen all of a sudden, many things change. So the first time ever in Colombia, the left-wing party is in power. More gun laws in the States. And also we saw the overturning in the High Court of abortion. 2 by-elections in the UK went against the government. In normal tradition, one of them, the government had a lead of 24,000 people. Like that was a complete overturn. For the first time ever here in Spain, there was an election in the most southern region where for many years always left wing went right wing. We saw the rise of the left wing in France. We saw the shootings in a gay bar in Norway. We saw massive earthquakes. These kind of sudden explosions, shaking, uprising. We also saw the beginning in the UK of massive strikes. The first one was a complete shutdown of the whole rail system across the UK, and many other workers from other unions are going to join them, including criminal barristers, which is very unusual. They're going on strike today, in fact. So in the UK. So we are really in for lots of bangs and shakes and shake-ups and moving and all of a suddens and things overturned and Bitcoin's on the decrease. All of it. Financial systems are all over the shop. No one can make any sense of them, right? So all of it is like a complete shake-up and move. Now, if we go and we fall into this, what we see is reality movie, what do we get? Very emotional, very sensitive, very like responding to this world, but the whole thing is moving anyway. With Uranus, Uranus is always in the chart, it's always doing something, it's moving something like this. Yes, so there's nothing we can rely on because all of a sudden things can change that we used to rely on and used to always be the same, which is very Taurian. We've had this for many years, we've had these laws for 50 years. We've had these elections like this for 50 years. We've had all this for 50 years. We've never had that for 20 years. This has been the first time and we can't count on anything. There's nothing we can count on, right? In this physical illusionary world. So there's a trap here that we fall into this crisis mode. So this South node in Scorpio is always about the crisis and the trauma and the pain, right? It's what Scorpio rules. It's a water sign as well. And it's uprooting crises, uprooting pains, up into the energetic reality for us to work on. So very difficult month ahead and probably a summer of, well, the UK have already called it their summer of discontent. And I quite like it because this is energetically going to be the summer of discontent where nobody's going to, there are ways in which you can choose not to be happy about something if you don't want to be.
Yeah. Uranus, our little friend.
Yes, that's right. So, and as those two draw closer, the karmic destiny changer and the upheavals, the all of a suddens, the out of the boxes, didn't expect it, the more and more we will be thrown into our robotic, automated emotional system, feeling very on edge. So it's all about that central column, that Zen, that calmness. We don't have to agree with everything. We don't have to disagree with everything. We can take stands, but from what place? If we're fueled by anger, by insecurity, particularly with this sort of Scorpio, Cancer, and crisis and trauma and insecurity and revenge kind of mode, which is all of the Scorpio energy and the Cancerian energy combined. We are only injecting that more into our reality, right? So we have to find ways in which dealing with the things that we want to uprise against, right? But from a very different place, from much more, I'm taking control of this place.
And I mean, the fun, I just had this
fun bit.
The fun bit about it, but yes. I was stopping myself to say that, but
it is kind of fun bit.
It is, because like control is an illusion anyway. If control is something, is a very harsh energy, it's very stiff and unflexible, and wherever you think you want to be in control or have control over anything, that means that you want to hold, you want to grab, you want to make it stiff, so it's like not moving. But life on a dual planet with good and bad, with all of that, is like to be in flow, to move smoothly throughout your way, to be in a cycle, to go with the cycles, to move very smooth. And that has nothing to do with the stiffness and with the control part. So I think what this Uranus with an conjuncting with the North node does for us and helps us to learn is, where am I not smooth yet?
Yes, it's about letting go.
Where can I, where do I think I know better? Where do I think I want to exercise control and be like very stiff? And that can, like, in my my therapist life, what I see very often, and what I just saw recently, was when you have children and there is fathers usually are way less controlling, and mothers are more like trying to control the narrative. And so it's apparently what it is. So what's really interesting about that is if the mothers could let go a little bit and go more into this flow state, especially at the moment, I think that will help a lot. And I think that's also the reason here in the Northern Hemisphere why children love the summer holidays so much. Because the summer holidays, what they do is there's a lot of flow states. It's a lot of going, to the lake or at the sea and bathing and just being in flow all day, because kids don't have to go to school. There is no fixed structure in the day, so they can get up a little bit later. And so going more into this flowy energy is, I think, what you want to do, and not try to control your plans, your days, your dates, like try to be more flowy so you have it easier, especially in this month of Cancer.
Yeah, I would agree. Like the flow is what Cancerians do very well, right? Because they're just
only feel good when they are in flow.
That's right. And their better senses when they're in the flow is they're more their light-filled reality. They're not so triggered by things, emotionally triggered by things, right? Let's see how this turns out. Let's look for the light in the situation. What is it showing us? What are we going to do, right? So it's very, very interesting. And so also with this energy, the Pluto and Saturn are still retrograding. So Pluto and Saturn are very interesting because they both represent ends, or death, or this kind of finality, right? Particularly Saturn. Pluto is more about finality, with the idea of rebirthing, reincarnating, starting anew, bringing new things through. Like it cleans out, knocks things down, cleans it out, puts a new place where you can build something, right? And Saturn is on the flip side, where it finishes killing something, it builds. Right, so they're retrograding, so they're knocking things down and demolishing things. So things are weakening in the systems, particularly. Saturn is particularly in Aquarius. It's about the humanitarian, the community, the larger group. Right, this is where people will come together or not. So if you look at like something in the UK where the trade unions, not only the trade union of that body, but now they're linking in with other trade unions to form one big sort of, upheaval that is very Saturn retrograde like. Or we can see where people fall apart, which is in other countries where they're all over the place about issues. So, so there's different ways in which Saturn retrogrades can do, but ultimately it's going to rebuild community, humanity, the senses of being a group, energizing things in a new way. And that can be done by making something so close that it has to come through new, or so separated it has to come through new. Either way, it can work in both. Either ways are extreme in order to find the balance. Capricorn is Pluto is retrograding in Capricorn right at the end. We've been talking about this for 14 years, right? This Pluto in Capricorn. But it's right at 28, 29 degrees where United States has its Pluto. So you can see how the United States visually is weakening even by the president that they've elected. Right, he's doesn't finish sentences. He's shaking hands with people that aren't there. He's walking off stage the wrong direction. Like, he has to have a cue card for everything with instructions in it. Like, you know what I mean? By the visual representation, you can see the fundamentals and the pins like really weakening. And this is in order again to wipe out the old, to get rid of, and Capricorn's about structures, governments, institutions, accountancies, banks, all of which the United States is built on, right? All the systems are being undermined, weakened from the old, and they will come through new over the next 10 years. Yes, maybe more, a bit longer. But this only happens to a country, this Pluto return only happens in a country every 48 years to be exact. In Europe, we do it a lot. We overthrow kings at this point. We get rid of whole political systems. We've been through all the political systems you can think of. We've had all the different kinds of running a country. We've had all the different borders move. They're still, we're very good at this.
Yeah.
These, right? We can do it on our head. But for the United States, it's the first time. They're a younger soul that goes there, right? They're a more energetic, younger, vibrant soul, right? This is the first time they're going through this kind of upheaval, cleansing, detoxing out of the thing. So it's going to obviously be, something for that particular soul, but also because the United States being what it is, it doesn't just do it on its own, right? It's heavily linked into other countries. So even by default, we are kind of needing to, move a little bit with it, so it will send some shockwaves through the system over the next year. 6 months to a year, but you can see it weakening and debilitating all of the time.
There's a really interesting professor here in Switzerland. He has he's at the University of Basel, and he's doing science and it's peace science. He's analyzing wars and how they were built and how they were constructed and how they happened. And his name is Daniele Ganser. I really like him. I think he's brilliant. And he was pointing out the role of the United States in all the wars over the past 50 years, and also now in the war, the Ukraine and Russia. And it's really interesting what he says. And he always speaks about the human family. And I find this notion, this sentence very interesting, to say, what does serve the human family the most? And in the United States itself as well, like the question of what does serve the human family of the United States the most, and how can we have more that serves the human family as a family and not as separate members of the family, but as one entity of a family. And I think this is what the United States deeply goes through in internal, but also external, because the role they played, and they did play in the last 70 years, were is more than questionable. And even though they're like the biggest economy in the world, it has a huge impact if a country like this in the collective goes through Pluto retrograde. Like
yes.
return,
So what's interesting about it is what you just said, is that so if their Pluto is here and out and went past Pluto, now it's retrograding it back against it, over it again, and then it has to go past it again, and maybe there's another retrograde that comes in on its field. So, and then it goes into Aquarius, and the moon of the United States, which is the people, right,
is in Aquarius.
Is in Aquarius. So we are in for the United States going all over the place, right, for a while. And you can already see it starting to happen. People saying it's in its fall, it's had its day, it's not the power it used to be. The person that it's elected to run it is certainly far from a powerful presence. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you like or hate previous presidents of the United States, have been very, powerful people in their own right, in different ways, but very charismatic and very much the leader and very the center. They have that about them. This is not the case anymore, right? This is the guy, like, what's going on with this one, right? So you can see even in that there is going to be a lot of systemic problem.
And it's also really interesting how now, like, the countries that have been under pressure of the role of the United States, like Russia, like Turkey, like a lot of countries in the Middle East as well, right? How there is now, since the United States is having its Pluto return, how they have like an uprising, and
they're
like,
taking advantage, right? Yes, they see it. And this is really exactly, that's right, that's exactly the point of Russia, isn't it? Saying, well, they weakened, right, now's our chance, right? So you're correct, absolutely correct, that this is the feeling now that they're weakening, they've got no strength about them. Totally. Let's do our things again. So everything will, as you said, have an effect around it. And the final point, before we go, is a bit more fun. That's why I put it last. Venus in Gemini. Venus is Venus is about our health, our finances, our relationships. It's in Gemini, so particularly Venus with relationships is go out, have fun, meet new people, talk, chitter-chatter, flirt. Venus in Gemini is all about flirting. So if you are wanting to meet someone new and you want the chitty-chatty bit, you need the new bit, good. If you're in an old relationship and you're looking to deal with a deep problem, you also have Cancer, which will take you into all the gaps. So it's you can do either or both, here. But Venus is really about, this is the fun time for your relationships, right? On the flip side, with your money, because it's Venus in Gemini is a little bit more superficial, watch it coming in and out. Yeah, watch it going like all over the place. And with Cancer, because there's an element of insecurity about it, you could start spending money just to make yourself feel better all over the place, right?
So we don't want to do that. Don't do the Botox now.
And as long as you are knowing why you're doing Botox, of course, you're not doing it from some pain and anguish, then go and do it, but enjoy it. This is very Venus Gemini. Venus Gemini. Venus is also our image. It's more about how we go out and socialize. So we'll be thinking about those things. The new handbag, the Botox, the makeup, the redo. Let's go out, have fun. It's party. And also we're in summer, so the whole atmosphere does go a bit to the body, a bit to the superficial, but I have no problem with that, as long as you feel good about yourself when you do it, not terrible, yes, which Cancer can bring in. Venus in Gemini is also with the words, right? So the flitty words, the more just say anything to get by. So do be conscious of what you're saying, as we said, because typically Geminis will just say anything to anyone just to be fun and good. They're like just want to like have a good time, so they're all just merging in with other people, so which is nice to some degree when you're at a party or when you're at an event, but then on other occasions you can't do that, right? It comes off as a bit inauthentic, shall we say, or far loose with the truth. So yes, that's the roundup for the week.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all the work, and it's so interesting to.
It is interesting, like a big, like the last week of news and the things that are happening and the uprisings and all of that. We're going to see for a while, but that's life, isn't it?
It's like really
You-
interesting. I don't watch any news and I never watch newspapers, and I'm living a pretty isolated life. So you are my news
I watch news on YouTube because I
yeah,
find there that I don't like this energy of TV in my
yeah,
room or
yeah, yeah.
space. Just me personally, I'm not like I'm not on a box about it, but I really like YouTube because like you get all these different points of view and podcasts and people that are really into the topic, and it doesn't have to be newsy news. It's just like people talking about things that
Yeah.
are talking up, and you go, oh, I see all the different points now. Yeah, and you can get a really different things. And I like to watch the news from the mainstream media, but I always try and get like somebody from the left and somebody from the right,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
not getting like too boxy in their head about it.
Love it.
But I think YouTube is all right, or some of these podcasts are quite
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
I think
there's
so
some good
too.
people out there doing some nice things.
Yeah.
So yeah, very
Amazing.
interesting.
Thank you so much.
It's a
And you guys,
pleasure.
thanks for listening, everyone. And we wish you a wonderful week. And we talk to you next week.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.